Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I'm on lead chess right now, and I just got paired up a 15-2 game. So let's see how this plays out. Try knight f3 as a start. C4, d4. I guess we'll go with c4. Retain some flexibility with that d pawn. That will often change up the opening, committing that d pawn. So c pawn first. Let's go with knight c3. On d5 I'll take, and then after knight takes I'll play e4. Not going for that though. Okay. Let's see. d4 or e4. e4 will prevent the d5 advance. Let's do that. Or maybe not. Let's see. What other options might I have? I could go with g3. G3, d4, e4 are my candidate moves here. I'm just a little bit concerned if I play e4, this move c5. I could still get in d4. We'll enter a Rxd bind. Yeah, that's fine. It might transition into a Sicilian here, depending on black's next move. Okay, no. So their c-pawn will not be able to exchange itself off for my d-pawn so easily. A group of 3 pawns now in the center, and probably just bishop to e2. Let's see. Any other good options? I don't want to obstruct my queen's view of d4. This is something that's surely going to be struck at. Either c5, e5, knight c6, maybe. So I'm pretty sure, in other words, I know where my light square bishop belongs, so let's get him there. Bishop to e2. This is also useful depending on what black does here, of course. This e5, d5 reply. If I move my knight out of the way, it'll stop a knight pivot. Sometimes I'll want to go there to then jump into f4. But okay, we have knight c6. Okay, my first thought is to just give him a quick kick here with d5. Is there anything wrong with that? Let's give him a kick. Is he going to go to e5? I think I've had players do this against me before. Play into this square. I mean, they're doubled pawns. I don't know how big of an issue it is, but I like that my bishop is able to see these squares after I do capture. So they are going in that direction. My first thought is just to take it. Makes their bishop on g7 not the greatest piece in the world. Yeah, probably just take. I'm inviting this pawn a little bit more forward, but it is a doubled pawn now. And in what direction is this game going to go? That's the question I have. I should probably castle. Bishop to e3. Can I do without castling? No. Let's do that first. Remain a little bit more flexible with my bishop. Maybe he'll go to g5. I guess these are the two candidate moves. I don't think I'll invest any time with fianchettoing. Okay. Well, that was a move that was played really quick. And I have the option now to take and damage their queenside. And also I could now look forward to an ending. And in an ending, I think I'll be the better side here because I don't really see how this bishop will be getting involved anytime soon. So I'm pretty much going to take here. I'm just double checking stuff. Yeah, I don't want to allow it to be closed either, like this knight reposition. This could be a fine home for the knight. I think I should look to open it up and, in some sense, play against their poorly placed minor piece on g7. After takes, recapture. I don't know if I'll take their queen because I am helping out their rook, but I think I could say for certain I want to take like this. I'd certainly welcome queen takes queen by them. So now the decision to take their queen or not. If I play bishop to e3, well, where is their queen really even going to go? I always have this knight jumping into these squares. Now that these pawns are split, or they're isolated, so the squares in front of them are probably good homes for pieces. Knight might want to arrive on c5. This is a king side specific bishop, dark square bishop, so he won't be around to watch over these queen side dark squares so easily. After queen takes queen, rook takes queen, then bishop to e3. We're heading towards queenside specific play. I'm not sure what else to consider here. Queen a4, pressure on c6, and then I could be gaining a tempo with rook to d1. I feel like I should be starting with bishop to e3. One thing I want to make sure of is that this knight does not get to d4 anytime soon. It'll take forever. This knight 2 squares away diagonally. It takes him a while to get there. What other candidate moves do I have? Bishop to e3, queen takes queen, and then bishop to e3. I think I kind of like just getting the queens off first. Yeah, let's... maybe not. Yeah, let's go for it. I couldn't resist. Alright, so on bishop e3, knight here, I could reply bishop here. Or maybe even take. And then, this is my bad bishop after all, so... Let's start with this. This is also useful in putting pressure here, so this might, having this pressure on a7 may translate into me obtaining control over this only open file, because it's placing a restriction on the rook. Any pressure against my b pawn, I'll play b3, and there isn't this idea of breaking down in a2, b3, c4 structure, because this is a nice pivot for my knight on a4. So let's see what black comes up with. They're kind of hard-pressed to find a good square for their light square bishop. If you go here, I'm not sure what you're doing exactly. This isn't an inconvenience to put pressure on my c4 pawn. They might try to activate their bishop here, but again, the big question here, in my eyes at least, is what exactly is this bishop going to do? So they're looking for a knight reposition. And as mentioned, I may be able to now obtain control over this d file. This seems correct. And I want to go with this rook. I don't know if it makes so big a deal, but I want to have a fast track over here with my king. And I'm able to now win a pawn, am I not? So, let's see here. I take their rook, they take back. I take on a7, they enter on d2. Is that really so much a problem? I mean, I'll have to defend for just a moment. Rook to b1, or here, but I think I'd play rook to b1. And then on my next move, I could come back here, but maybe they cause me a little bit of a problem with that. because of a move like bishop to h6. I'm not so sure I want to allow that activity. What would they do if I don't allow them to have full control over the d file? You know, suppose I play king f1, king e1, and then threaten to take here. You know, first of all, where's this knight going? He goes here, I play b3. There might be then the follow-up of this advance, but I don't know if that really scares me so much. My instinct tells me to just improve my king position a little bit more. Knight here to here is also an idea. Maybe I should improve my piece, and maybe I should be a bit more direct. Although no, a knight to a4, knight d6, and these two pawns are hit. Okay, so not so fast. Let's improve my king position. King f1. King f1, king e1, then they'll have to do something for sure about their a pawn. On knight d6, I'll play b3. Knight d6, b3, and on f5, I'll play f3. It may happen that there's an exchange here, but if their f pawn is exchanged for my e pawn, that'll result in them having a double isolated pawn. And in a position where it's just the bishops, that's going to be not so good. Well, really, doesn't matter. No matter how you slice it, these two double isolated pawns are a glaring weakness. So let me consider yet again capturing on d8 and then a7. Should I do that? I mean, I will have a passed a pawn. I'm sure the computer would be all over that. I'm not going to do it, though. Okay, now they have to certainly tend to this threat of exchanging rooks and then capturing on a7. So, and when they move their pawn to a5, I can think about the b6 square. Not only c5 anymore, but also b6. Maybe even bishop b6 in some cases, but I'll probably need to play b3 first. Also, if their a pawn moves, I think I'll first play f3. Just to reinforce this pawn, and that way my knight could move without fear of knight d6 hitting both of these. And it's difficult. I mean, I'm not quite sure what the bishop is doing on f8. I know it wants to come out in this direction, but so many things need to happen. Like this bishop has to move, for starters. And then the pawn. Okay, so they're giving up control of the d file. I can't enter on it, but the rook is restricted. This a pawn has to move before the rook could move. Well, I mean, the rook could play here, but on any rook move to the b file, I'm playing b3. Rook b8. Rook b8, b3. Okay, they're striking in the center. Let's reinforce that point. Oh, the knight might also come to f6. I didn't consider that, but it shouldn't be a big deal. Okay, they're closing the position up. I don't think that that's a good option, but... Alright, let's stay here. I don't want to go to this square. I'm going to leave that option open for my knight, so I don't have any concern about this. And now, in order for this bishop to become activated, it's clear that this pawn needs to move. And it's very difficult because if he goes here and then pushes, then it's the light square bishop who becomes bad. I didn't mention this much. I've been talking about pivoting on this square with the knight, but maybe this move is an idea as well. This isn't a threat. Let's improve my knight position. I think he's going to be a great bother on the c5 square, hitting the light square bishop. Yeah, knight c5. And on bishop to c8, I could play rook here. Could be quite annoying. Probably just protect to pick up the pace just a little bit here. 5 minutes and change. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Knight c5, bishop back. How do I make more progress? Knight c5, bishop back, knight d3, bishop g7, and then knight here. Let's try that. Let's try to induce some weaknesses. If I'm able to force my opponent's bishop to retreat like this, I move forward, I force my opponent backward. I've likely obtained something small, but you know, I move forward, I'm forcing them backward, they're not going backwards. So they're giving me the bishop pair, knight takes, king takes, c5. And I can think about giving this check. This must be correct. I'm going to take that guy. Is there anything better? I'm going to go for that. And then follow up with c5. I need to activate my bishop. Bishop c4. It's close to mate. There's that move. But a knight here, I could even think about taking. I do have a majority. First time referencing this, but this is a healthy 3 versus 2 majority on the queen side, whereas they have an unhealthy king side majority. So I should probably insert this check first, inconvenience their king, and now consider taking the knight. Taking the knight and then playing rook here, or not taking the knight at all. A little bit concerned about opposite color bishops, a4, knight here. Let's see. Rook d7. Can I work around that knight? Yeah, I mean, it certainly has my attention here, this idea of giving some material back. a4, knight d4 takes, rook takes, and then here. I really don't want to give up my light square bishop so easily. What other moves would I have? Here, run into a fork. Rook d7, knight d4. Let's take him. Let's activate this rook. And look to improve my king position. This rook is still tied down. I could also consider this. You know, put pressure on this pawn. King here, I just come over, and he can't improve further. Okay. Still remains to be seen what is up with that bishop. How is he getting activated? Let's play to a spot where I keep pressure on my opponent's pawns. Maybe I'll improve like this. I don't want to allow rook d8 with check. I don't know how big a deal that would be, but at least for the moment, maybe I should even do this move first. Stop g4. Yeah, let me do that. It's difficult for them to improve. It's a useful move. I could also look at this position from the standpoint I have the better bishop. He has pawns fixed on dark squares, so I could maybe play a position where I'm more focused on that. You know, if the rooks are off and I somehow lose this pawn, it's probably a pretty easy position to hold for a draw. Despite being down a pawn, if I was to lose my c-pawn, it's very, very tough now. I mean, in order to activate the bishop, the king has to retreat. He has to move away, I should say, from the action, which is the queen side of the board. So, as an improvement, if black is doing nothing, I'm Playing king e2, king d3, they might insert a check king here, and they have to be mindful of rook to b6 with check picking up the a-pawn if the rook occupies this open file. So let's see what black comes up with. They're now investing some time here. They're in a tough spot. I don't know if I do well to open up another file here. I don't know what exactly I accomplished by doing that. Although maybe I grant my king access to c4 by playing the a4 move. That might be an idea. And maybe I should not do this king e2 move. Maybe it's okay to cross on the d file first, and then get to the c4 square as soon as possible, or the c3 square as soon as possible, and then do this move a4. Yeah, let's see. I could push, but maybe I'll push only after this pawn has moved. King e2 or king d2 is my, these are my candidate moves. I'm going to go here. I want to be just a hair closer towards the queen side. King c3 incoming, a4. I think I want to do this first of these two moves, just to get out of checking distance. They might try to pile up on my c-pawn, but I'll be there to play this move. Okay. And their king is now completely cut off. Maybe a4 is the move right now. No, I want to have this move available. Let's do this. Activate my king. I might run all the way up here. King b4, maybe. King b4 instead of b4. Interesting moment. King b4. But I am in a pin. Don't really like that. Let's go b4. Rook to b6. This would be super passive if they do this to defend laterally. Their king is cut off. Under 2 minutes. Okay, that's very passive. If I play rook here, how are they untangling? Let's do that first. Just to stop here, they might have wanted to try that to undermine this structure. So maybe king b3 and a4 is the idea. Yeah, let's do this. They might try to hunt down my bishop, like 1, 2, 3. My bishop is kind of, no, not really. I mean, he could camp out here. Might not be a bad square either. Come to think of it, putting pressure on e5. If they do this, I'll take once, but not twice, because king here, and I'm helping them activate their king. So they're in a tough spot. I should follow through, and let's do this. Pressure on that b pawn. Improve my king position now. Their king is still cut off. The rook is restricted, and I'm looking to move forward yet again. With the b5, king takes, and then push. I'm playing with all my pieces in that resulting position. King, rook, bishop, and pawn. Their king is cut off, and the rook is passive along with their bishop. So let's see what they come up with here. This is one of those positions where you try as white to keep it as clean as possible. The rook is, if he moves, if he tries to get activated, I could take here. If I push here, bishop takes pawn is not working because of pawn takes rook. Bishop takes rook, bishop takes bishop, or even pawn push. So I think I just get on with pushing. I don't think I'm missing anything. I don't think I can make I have to do this to make progress. And I'm at a minute. So I'm just going to push away here. I might be close to sacrificing here. Let's continue pushing. On a rook check on b8, I can block. And I could also welcome a bishop exchange, and if this position is stripped of, if it's just king and pawn ending, this is winning. Again, due to these doubled pawns here, the double lead pawns. So let's see what black comes up with. The big plan here is to push and then king here, so let's just block. I don't want to allow that rook any activity. And I'll be pushing next, king here, so this is actually pretty much seeing the end to this one. Their king isn't playing. c7, king c6, and then rook to b8. Let's do that first. Bishop here, king here. And on king there, I could play bishop here. I don't want to allow their king to get here, though. They're not going anywhere from that position, though. I could improve a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, that's what they're trying here. So king c6 for starters. Yeah, king c6 here. Their king can't move, their bishop can't move. The rook is the only one that could move. I think you do this. Yeah, less than 20. So now they're going to run out of moves. I think. I could do this, maybe a rook back and then king here and rook here stuff. That might be an idea. Yeah. If I get my okay, and I should probably just let's take first. Take again. Yeah, it's a pass pawn, less than 10. Rook to g8. Rook to g8 I play here. Okay, I think I got it now. Because they're forced to make a move. If they move their bishop, I'm going here. As soon as there's not two pieces hitting c7, I could play rook here. On rook here, what would I do? Maybe just push my pawn. Keep these guys sitting right where they're at. My opponent's in a bind here. They've been in a bind for a little bit. So on rook a8, I just push. And on that move, I have this. I'm pushing through here. Now they're going for that, but he is protected with my bishop. So they might play it out just a little bit more here. Let's just approach over here. Take let's take here, and then just take here and then push next. That's with check, Kp move, and they'll probably resign here with the increment or not. Might just play it out to mate here. So we'll see what the computer has to say afterwards here. Just escorting this pawn, avoiding any stalemates. No stalemates. And let's see. Get the queen. And let's see. Let's see if we could do this. Get the king and queen working, playing this without the bishop. Just picturing it as if it's the king and queen alone. Okay, they resigned. So let's see. Let's just dive right in here, going to the analysis board. Getting a computer analysis. This shouldn't take too long. And I think that early middle game decision to play into e5 and allow knight takes knight and playing with those double D pawns, probably not a good idea. I think I've seen that, I've played against that in Blitz, but I've had opponents on the black side play that in Blitz, but never really in a standard game. I think I've even seen on that d5 push the knight return, and then look to pivot, on the d7 square. So let's see, computer's still thinking a little bit here. But yeah, that's where I think there's going to be something evaluation-wise, see a shift there. So this is just the quick scan. I don't know if we could, let's see, knight e5. Yeah, well, first off, knight c6. Bishop e2, knight c6 is really the main problem because of d5. So something's given up there, and it was a slow, it just got worse. But let's see what some of the suggestions are by the computer here. On the right-hand side, just kind of, well, it really doesn't even go into, some other suggestion besides knight to c6 here, but, there is this main move of e5, and then on d5 we go in this direction where black will be playing on the king side and I'm going on the queen side. But they didn't strike first in the center, and that turned out to be a big problem. Takes, where is there maybe another improvement? This is having it as a 0.7, 0.8 advantage, so approaching, it's just, again, a difficult road ahead. I'm not sure what other options there are. I'm just holding this e4 point. If they're ever taking, these are then, they remain doubled. They're either going to be doubled as a group or double isolated. So this is just even worse, exchanging, I mentioned it earlier, if they're exchanging their f pawn for my e pawn, these double isolated pawns, that's, can't be good. So, what else? It's really difficult to suggest something, to be perfectly honest here. It's just a growing advantage from this point. Knight c5, king f7. It's not pointing out some other suggestion here. I thought bishop back, and I was planning knight d3. Then they have to tend to this pawn. Bishop here. I'm not sure. Oh, I think I said I was going to consider this move. Bishop here is ruled out because of c5, and bishop here. Well, now I could think about entering with c5 and then rook here with tempo. So this would be very difficult to defend if black did go in this direction with this knee-jerk reaction type move, here boxing the knight out from these advancing squares, very common. But knight here and into this square, gaining a tempo here, and then hitting this pawn. It's very, very difficult to defend. The bishop's the only one that could do it, and the as mentioned, c5 with then a rook invasion, that's too much, and you got the bishop coming here with check. It's just crumbling. So maybe relatively best is what they did in the game here, giving up the bishop, improving their king position, but they were just sectioned off. The king, it was either one or the other pieces. I was mentioning it earlier about, I think right around here, right around when they played bishop f8, I said, well, how are they getting their bishop on this, playing on this diagonal? They'd have to move their bishop. They're hard-pressed to find a good square other than e6 for their bishop. And, after they did this move, You know, if we have this sort of thing, and then playing up here, it's the bishop that's bad. It's like one piece will always remain bad for black in this position. One of the two bishops, as it turned out in the game, the king ended up being cut off, so the king was never really a great contributor to the black position, and one of their bishops was always bad. The dark square bishop, he never really got activated, so just giving that check first, inconveniencing the king. And this allows me to enter now, just for that one moment. Notice if I didn't do that first, right? If I just take right away, takes, I don't have d7, so inconvenience first and then move forward with taking, activate the rook, keep him activated, and just improving first. One other detail, I don't know how big a deal it is, but if I was to play, let's say, king d2 instead of h3, this could be... my h-pawn is maybe a little bit more vulnerable to, I don't know, like a quick rook down here and then capture. If I have this pawn up here, if there's ever this exchange and another exchange here, the resulting base point f3 is an easier point for me to defend than a pawn all the way over here on h2, which I don't know how great if it really is likely to be an issue, but that's just like the quick thought that I had. If you are going to get this break in, there won't be an h-pawn. I won't have an h-pawn on the board that you could even think about attacking, and I'll have an f-pawn, which is a little bit easier for me to defend with my king. Ideally, you want your king in the center, so if he could also be in the center and conveniently defend f3, should there be pressure on f3 one day, I'm better off in that case. So h3 first, that's why I don't think I was able to really voice that during the game, but it's just, that's what was going through my mind. So yeah, and there's really very little suggestion here. I mean, this is already a winning position because of you could go by sectioning it off, the king side and the queen side. The queen side I'm playing with an extra pawn, a healthy majority versus an unhealthy majority on the king side. And you could also do a piece-by-piece comparison, rook versus rook, king versus king, bishop versus bishop. These guys are, they're better. So I think, again, it's coming all the way back to that, I'm sure there's, of course, more resistance that could have been put up. But that decision to play knight to c6 and play a position where you have the double d pawns, I've seen that played, but then the follow-up of a quick strike at the d5 pawn. So let me just point out one additional thing here. I've seen that move before. Don't know that it could be recommended, but knight to c6, takes. I've seen this as a follow-up. What did I do next? I castled. So after castle, instead of c5, instead of c5, the move e6, and at least you're exchanging one of the doubled pawns off for this one here, but white will still be standing better due to the space advantage and just having an easier time, a bit more free pieces. And again, it's still a big question here with this pawn now fixed on the e5 square. What exactly is he doing? So even in situations like this, should this pawn come up, I just leave it sitting and continue with developing. If takes, I take like this, and now, I have a place for my rook. Anyhow, interesting middle game, interesting it's an early knight c6 move again. I don't know, really can't play that. Anyhow, feel free to leave any comments in the comment section below to this video. As usual, I hope you got something out of it, and I'll catch you in the next one. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.